Let's start by downloading the practice file and media for this assignment. Once you've downloaded it to your computer, move it to your DFM 260 folder with the rest of your media for this course. You'll notice that there's folders for your audio and video files, but you need to make a folder for your Premiere file. Go ahead and do that, then drag your Premiere file into it. Then, open the Premiere file for this assignment. You also want to make sure that you're working with your beginner's workspace. In the project panel, you can see that we have a few video and audio clips from the short film Nothing Owed. They should be online, but if they're offline, take some time now to relink them before continuing. In this video, we'll focus on editing audio and learning the audio tools in Premiere. We'll use the practice sequence for this part of the assignment, so if your practice sequence isn't open already, go ahead and open it. You can see that the sequence has one video track and 4 audio tracks. Since we're working with audio in this lesson, let's adjust the timeline settings a bit to help us focus on the audio tracks. Double-click on audio track 1, just right of the microphone icon. This will expand the track so we can see more detail. Go ahead and expand the rest of the audio tracks. Notice that there's little mountain-looking marks on your audio clips in the sequence. These marks are called the waveform and are a visual representation of the audio levels in the clip. Over here, you can see the audio levels. The louder the level of the audio, the taller the waveform at that point in the clip.
Previous to the police department's arrival.
The visual representation of the audio can help you when scrubbing through the clip and setting in and out points. Let's preview what's on audio track 1 so we can label it and keep things organized. I'll first solo the track. Okay, this is just the production audio during shooting. Notice that when the clip is playing in the sequence, the audio meters to the right of the timeline panel are moving, or bouncing if you want to use the production term. This is another visual representation of the audio levels. The audio level refers to the loudness of the audio. When editing audio levels, this meter is your friend. It's going to give you a green light for good audio levels, ones that aren't too loud, and an orange or red light when your audio levels are getting too loud. Loud is okay for some sounds, but you want to try and stay out of the red zone because that's when audio starts to sound distorted, and that's not good. We'll come back to the audio meter in a bit, but for now, just keep in mind that this meter shows what's playing in the sequence as a whole. It only works for individual tracks when you solo them. So, there's a couple of good sound effects we can use in here, but there's also a couple of audio hits. That's an audio term for a short glitch or an unwanted noise in the recording. We'll learn how to take care of those later. Let's rename this track Production Audio. Make sure that your audio track is expanded, right-click on the name and choose Rename. Then type in the new name. Let's look at A2, audio track 2.
We do, however, have a very serious situation unfolding as we speak. At 5 p.m.,
Okay, this is the VO or voiceover of the radio announcer. Let's rename this track VO. Let's expand A3 and preview it. Here, we have a song that I assume gets interrupted for the radio announcement. Let's label that track Music. And last, let's expand A4 and preview it. This is the room tone, just a recording of the ambient noise of the room or soundstage where the footage was shot to provide an even bed of natural background noise under the scene. Under the scene, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Under the scene, ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Great, now we know what audio we're working with and we have everything expanded and labeled. Earlier, you learned about sound mixing, which has to do with adjusting the levels or loudness of each audio track in the sequence to result in a natural sounding environment. So, let's put that into practice here in Premiere as we learn about its audio functions. In sound mixing, the most important sound is dialogue, or the words that are spoken by the actors and actresses. The audience needs to hear and understand what's being said in order to follow the story. So, when working on sound mixing, you should start with the dialogue or VO tracks. So, let's solo A2, our VO track, play it, and watch the audio meter levels.
We do, however, have a very serious situation unfolding as we speak.
We talked about what the green, orange, and red meant earlier, but what about the numbers along the side here? These represent the loudness of the audio measured in decibels, or dB for short. And I know this might sound weird, but you want to make sure that the audio levels of your dialogue hover around negative 12 dB. The levels can temporarily go above or below negative 12 as long as they are generally around negative 12. Our VO audio track's really close, but just a little hot. That's another term for audio that's too loud. So let's adjust the level a bit. To do this, we're going to use the audio clip mixer panel nested in the source monitor. This works similar to the effects control panel for video, but with the audio clip mixer panel, you don't have to have the clip you want to change selected in the sequence. The audio clip mixer panel works for any clip that the cursor's on. Let's place the cursor at 5 seconds in the sequence. The audio clip mixer is showing us 4 separate audio meters, again measured in decibels, representing our 4 audio tracks. Notice how our track labels are coming in handy here. The audio clip mixer panel is displaying a slider for all 4 tracks, telling us that we can adjust the levels for all 4 tracks at this point in the sequence. Keep in mind that the level adjustments you make here don't affect the entire track. They only affect the clip where your cursor is. So notice that there are actually 2 clips of the VO. If I adjust this one all the way down to silence it and play the sequence, the other clip of the VO is not affected.
At 5 p.m., the silent alarm at Tri-State National.
So let's use the slider for the VO track to lower the levels a bit. It's pretty simple to do, just click, hold, and drag the slider up or down to raise or lower the level. You can keep adjusting the slider and previewing it until you get it close to -12. So for the VO, we'll just lower the slider a bit and then play it again in the sequence until you get the audio levels to bounce close to -12. Just make sure that you adjust the levels on both the VO clips.
We do, however, have a very serious situation unfolding as we speak. At 5 p.m., the silent alarm at 5 p.m.
So we've covered the audio levels, but what about audio transitions? Like video transitions, audio transitions can be found in the Effects tab nested in the Projects panel. Just navigate to Audio Transitions, Crossfade. Basically, an audio transition is just gradually adjusting the levels, so you really only need one option, the crossfade. This is similar to a video dissolve, but instead of video, it gradually raises and lowers the audio levels. Let's play the music track. And now let's add a constant power crossfade to the beginning. By default, it's 1 second long, but you can adjust it just like you did with the video transitions. Let's make it 2 seconds long. And now we hear the music slowly getting louder. Just like the video transition, this is called a fade-in. If we add a crossfade to the end, the music will slowly get quieter until it's silent. The sound of silence. A much easier way to do this is just to hover over the audio cut until the red arrow pops up, right-click, and then click Apply Default Transition. Make sure that your video track's locked, though, so that your transition only applies to the audio. Unless your video and audio tracks are unlinked like they are here, and then it doesn't matter. A crossfade is going to gradually raise and lower the audio levels at a constant speed and duration, but if you want more control over gradually raising and lowering the levels, you gotta use keyframes. With keyframes, you can pinpoint spots to raise and lower the levels whenever you want, not just at the beginning and ends of clips or at cuts. Let's use keyframes to lower the audio levels of the music when the VO starts. To make a keyframe, you'll need to first select the pen tool from the toolbar. Notice that your mouse cursor is changed into a pen icon. Go ahead and click on the little line here with the pen icon. You've made your first keyframe. It's this little blue dot. Now, one keyframe. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. The way keyframes work is by using many of them, at least 2 to connect the dots and change the audio levels. So let's add another keyframe a little further down. Now click, hold, and drag that keyframe down to lower the audio level. Notice that the little gray line has moved to connect the dots. This gray line is representing the audio level. Let's play that to see what it sounds like. So we've gradually lowered the audio level where we wanted to. You can always move the keyframes around and adjust them with the pen tool or the selection tool. To delete a keyframe, select it and hit delete on your keyboard. You can easily navigate through the keyframes within a track by using the left and right arrow keys on your keyboard. Remember how we talked about the hit in the audio of the production audio track? Here it is right here. Let's use keyframes to get rid of it. Grab the pen tool and click on the audio track a few seconds before the hit. We want to have room to gradually lower the audio level before the hit. Now let's add another keyframe just before the hit. Then add another keyframe to the other side of the hit. Click, hold, and drag both keyframes down one at a time until they're at the very bottom, leaving the area with the hit silent.
Triggered, sending local police. Triggered, sending local police.
Great, no more hit, and we have smooth transitions in and out of silence. Okay, make sure that you practice with all the tools and techniques that you learned in this video before moving on to complete this assignment. See you on the next video!